Hey, afternoon, and welcome to the post-lunch edition of Seven Figure Business Secrets. Yeah, so just past lunch, it just actually, a really good lunch actually. There's a shop, actually, hang just a sec, there's a van doing a U-turn in front of me. There's a shop just down the road, and they do an amazing seafood chowder. And so that's what I had for lunch, so I got that. Actually, if you don't know what seafood chowder is, everyone knows what seafood chowder is. But in Ireland, being Ireland, we of course have to have potatoes in there as well. So basically the shop, they do an amazing chowder. It's got loads of big chunks of salmon and smoked cod, and yeah, just really tasty, and big lumps of potato in there as well, and a bit of cream, and for the health conscious amongst us. But really delicious. So yes, I just had that. So on my way actually back home. So I got a few things to do in the office, and and then my weekend starts. So how cool is that? And got quite a cool weekend planned. I'm parenting. Not allowed to call it babysitting, and yeah, just a bit of hangout time with the kids while my wife is off on a meditation morning, and yeah, that should be cool too. But yeah, so that'll be fun. So that's my weekend planned. And what I want to talk to you about before the weekend is, a question got asked there a few days ago, and it just stuck in my brain. And it wasn't really a question, it was a statement of fact. And the statement of fact was, setting up businesses is really hard, isn't it? How do you answer that one? How would you answer it? So this is made by, just a friend I know. And basically she's been setting up a business, but just run into a few difficulties, and we were chatting about it. So she asked me, just like, isn't it really hard? And you're not quite sure what to say. So the usual one was, what exactly are you doing, and how exactly are you approaching this? And so digging into why she's finding it hard, and it's always really cool, because actually, let's be honest, doing anything new is hard. Anything new whatsoever. I was trying to run and get fit again there about a year ago, and every morning I was getting up early and going down to the beach to do sprints and sprints and stops, and you could tell by my face already that was hard. That was really hard, and it lasted for about a month. And but yeah, everything. I think you're probably the same. You find when you start anything new, if you're honest with yourself, it's hard. Why? Because it's new habits, new learnings, and you don't know. You don't know if you're doing it right, don't know if you're doing it wrong, and it feels a bit of like a fumbling around. And at least I'm not very confident with fumbling around. But the other thing is that doing something new, it brings excitement, and I wonder what if, and if this works. So that's the upside of doing something new. So here she is starting her business, and asking me that question, isn't it hard? And the answer is of course it can be hard. If you do it the normal way, but it's a hell of a lot easier when you actually sort of follow the pattern that practically every single successful startup eventually stumbles upon. And the way I think about it and explain it is there's the five profit principles, and really once you start looking upon a business, any business, that there's really only 5 things you have to worry about. Is it just simplifies everything, and it makes everything much more straightforward and doable and manageable, and if you take that approach to a startup, it's a lot easier. And so that's when we're chatting through it and understanding where she was having difficulties. And of course, in my mind, I'm going through, first profit pillar, second profit pillar, third profit pillar, fourth profit, and so on. And eventually, it transpires. I could see exactly where she was having issues. In fact, across all 5. And I'll just talk you through that. But so her difficulty was that basically she was inventing everything from scratch, and not realizing that actually there is a plan to business, which when you think about it, of course there is. You don't have to invent everything for the first time. And so I was chatting to her about just about the first profit pillar. And the first profit pillar is really about positioning. And positioning is basically trying to pick your spot in the market, and who you're going to serve, what problems you're going to serve. We've spoken about it a few times. And then the second part is, once you have that, well then how are you going to serve it? So what are the products and services that you're going to develop? And that's a back and forward type prospect, even at its best. And And the way I always explain is you're probably going to get that wrong, right? So expect to get that wrong. But don't worry, that's part of setting up a business. It's the third, the fourth, and the fifth parts that you can get right from the very, very beginning. And that is, how do you actually gather customers? So do you have a machine essentially to do that? Do you have a machine to essentially convert prospects from, prospects into actual customers? Yeah. And the fourth part is, when you have customers, do you have a machine to take care of them? Yeah. And those three parts of the business you can set up without even knowing what it is. They're just processes. They're just basic parts of business that you just implement. And there's ways of implementing them that are really standard and really straightforward. You don't need to reinvent the wheel of those three things. So even if you're massively creative, right, and you want to build an amazing product from scratch, an amazingly different positioning, just do yourself a favor and just put the other three parts of the business in place. Just copy, model, put them in place and get on with it. And when I was chatting to my friend, basically she didn't have anything in place. So to her, she was trying to like come up with a product and trying to figure out a positioning, at the same time trying to figure out where she's going to get customers from, at the same time trying to figure out how she's going to sell it, trying to figure out how to look after customers. Doing her head in all of this. That's why business is setting up too hard. It's when you try and do all of those 5 things from scratch. Yeah, from scratch. You're inviting trouble and you're inviting angst on top of yourself. So that was my advice to her was, listen, you don't have to invent all this from scratch, right? You have lots of talents and all that. Why not put the 3 basics in place, put your prospecting machine in place, put your persuasion engine in place, put your pampering engine in place, those 3 basics parts of the business, and then go figuring out your positioning and figuring out what your product is, assuming you're not going to get them right first time. But here it is that you put them out there, you put out your first product and you see what happens. It might bomb, it might take off, yeah? And if it bombs, grand, next iteration. If it takes off, great, because you already have a way of getting more customers and selling them and all of that, yeah? And that's where the game comes in. So your game setting up a small business is go and set up those 3 parts that are the basic parts of your business, your prospecting, your persuasion, and your pampering. And then play with the front end of it. Play with, can you figure out a product that'll actually deliver? Can you figure out positioning? And give yourself, a month in each one. If you don't, move on to the next one. But you're just using what you've already put in place. You've put in place already the basics of your business. You have a machine to go out there and get customer or prospects, a machine to convert them and take money off them, and a machine to look after them. So yeah, get your machine in place. And that'll give you just such flexibility then to then go and do the creative stuff, like figuring out your customers and figuring out your positioning and figuring out, what is the best way and the best product and set the world alight and everything. But yeah, don't try to do it all at once, because that is very hard. Right, hope that helps. I am off to my weekend. Thanks a million for joining me as usual. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to do comments, all of that type of thing. I would absolutely love to hear what else I can help you with. If you've got specific questions that on your mind about making the transition and setting up a business, especially if it's setting up a business on the side and you're in a job, I would love to help. Drop me a note and I shall try and answer it. Cool. Enjoy your weekend and talk to you next week.